Hi, I'm Aubrey and I play Isobel.
Hi, I am Scott and I play Arthur.
Hi, I'm Termite and I play Piper.
And I'm Bloodied Porcelain. I will be your storyteller for the evening. It is, in many ways, the same story for every hunter. There is a single thread. They begin to pull and pull and pull, and the thread never breaks. It branches, becomes more threads, which they also follow. Signs warn of continuing to pull, and with each tug, more and more is revealed. The thread connects a dozen points of intersection: ghosts, vampires, werewolves, wizards. As each new secret is revealed, there are less and less warnings to turn back. And the madman who persists is left to wonder. Is it because they have drawn back the curtain? Or because they have pulled themselves into the spiderweb? And who, or what, exactly, will be the spider when their endeavors come to a close? Tonight, let's tell a story about the madmen. Good evening, players.
Hello.
During our last session, there were some interesting revelations. And I am realizing that the danger is wrong. When did that happen?
Oh my god.
Is it wrong?
Oh no!
That should definitely not be at 5. That should definitely have been at 3.
Okay.
My bad.
I was
Just
terrified.
letting us know that gun shop was more dangerous than we assumed.
The RV blows up as he leaps.
Rocks fall, everybody dies.
There were a good number of revelations last episode. You explored a little bit more in terms of the puzzles that you all were given to solve. We learned a little bit more about everybody, really, through some insight provided not only by the members of the cell, having an in-depth discussion about all of the things going on with them, but also because they met a new acquaintance who brought along with him the body of a departed cellmate who seems to have gone a little bit off his rocker, maybe? And ended up in the clutches of who Arthur is certain was the speaker of the Church of the Rising Star, the cult that he left when he began his journey as a hunter, and in whose clutches his wife remains. Gun shop, perhaps purposefully, maybe a little inadvertently, presented facts about each person in the cell, things that they may not have known about who and what they are, and informed them that he had never seen a death like the one Zephyr suffered before. He's not entirely sure what could have caused such a thing. Also informed them that people who die like Zephyr disappear in every sense of the word except their physical husk. There is no soul left behind to be called upon after death. They packed up their things and headed for New Orleans. Upon arriving in New Orleans, Rosanna parked their new RV, their very shiny new RV, stood up to stretch, and immediately crumpled like a rag doll. Upon seeing this, Gun Shop took a look at Rosanna, took a look at the rest of you, and went, wow, that seems like a problem. Y'all should probably get on that. And then he headed for the door. I have people to see, things to take care of. I'll be back when I'm ready, or when I'm able. And he leaves.
As the trained medical professional, I would like to make sure Rosanna's okay.
Yeah.
Make me an intelligence and medicine check.
I mean, Arthur's gonna head that way as well, but he won't stop Isobel from doing her job.
I almost made a vampire roll. That's the wrong command.
That is definitely the wrong command. Unless
Well,
there's
is it?
something you haven't told us.
If it is, it's news to me as well. That is 8 successes.
Holy cow. All right. So at first you actually panic a little bit. Because you go to get a pulse and you can't find one. But you are very good at what you do, and part of what you do is ensuring that people are in fact dead and not just one of those weird fringe cases. And it turns out that Rosanna is one of those weird fringe cases. It takes a couple of minutes, but with your stethoscope, you are able to get a very faint, very slow heartbeat. So she's alive. She doesn't appear to be in any kind of distress or danger, but there is something about the state that she has fallen into that it's like her body has started to kind of slow down to preserve itself.
Yeah, no, I will sort of, as I'm learning these things and realizing these things, definitely keeping a running commentary going of, she's okay for now. It's like, when somebody gets really cold, all the body sort of slows down in a way that it can just sort of keep going with very little energy. It's strange.
Is it safe to move her, or should we keep her?
It is
Right
absolutely
here.
safe.
Yeah,
safe
I
to
would
be.
I would absolutely recommend we move her to a more comfortable space.
Okay. Arthur's gonna help pick her up if he can't just pick her up on his own and
He
carry
can.
her to whatever bed has been claimed as hers, whichever that is.
It's probably the biggest bed in the RV if we're being honest with you, because
Right.
she tends to curl up with Gozer, so she needs more space than everybody else.
Okay, I'll take her there, and along the way, sort of try to ask, like, do you have any idea of what might have caused this? Do you think this is another vision, but like a harder one? Should we be suspecting, I don't know, evil cabal of vampires and mages perhaps may have taken Victoria's body or something?
I honestly know about as much as medically. I didn't get to the last time she had a vision. I didn't take any notes. I don't know if this is guessing through just that it is probably a vision of some kind. Hopefully wakes up soon. I don't know if anything else. I mean, I really don't know in some of those. Is there any way I could roll to see if I can understand anything like occult wise?
I mean, I could try to sense the unnatural, see if
That's-
that would
I was
help.
gonna
Probably-
say,
that's probably
you
a
know
better
that
idea than what I
Piper
can
is
do.
Yeah.
probably more in tune with that than you are.
Yeah.
Is there a role for your sense, Piper?
I for some
I
reason
ask you
keep-
every time you do this, and I keep
It's
forgetting.
fine. I keep forgetting. I want to say it's witch technology. Yes, or witch science. Sure,
Yep,
could've
go
saved
for it.
me, but
Roll it. I can't believe you got 8 successes. Jesus.
that's unfortunate.
There doesn't appear to be anything occulty going on. Your sensors and everything are not turning anything up. Unless you want to reroll failures.
I have 2 unspent willpower remaining. I'm good.
Oh, okay.
We
Even
need
after
to go
our
to
beginning of the
bed.
session refresh.
It's not beginning of the session, it's when you guys sleep.
Yeah, it's a resting
So we need to
refresh.
sleep.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
And Piper was very specifically up and doing things the whole drive. We talked at length about that. So maybe once Piper takes a nap, she'll be better able to do that. She looks a little brain fried right now. After everything that has happened today. Okay. Well, you guys are in New Orleans. Gun shop has fucked off to wherever it is a gun shop is gonna fuck off to. Rosanna is unconscious, but stable and doesn't show any signs of distress or, anything that Isobel thinks y'all need to worry about. She's like, as long as we check in and she continues to have a heartbeat, she should be fine. Unfortunately, for all Isobel knows, this is how Rosanna is every time she kind of has a particularly strong vision, but she hasn't been around to know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I've only seen one vision before that I'm aware of.
Yeah, I mean, my point is that you don't have a real basis of comparison.
Yeah.
So that said, okay. What do you guys want to work on? Piper, when you guys settle and you manage to set up your security and stuff again, and you're on a more secure connection than you could have been while moving, you have email.
Oh.
From Cricket.
All right.
You obviously don't have to answer it right away, but it's basically like a heads up. We whenever you have time, we can talk.
All right.
So here's my question for the rest of you, or for all of you, I should say. What do you want to work on first? Because you all have a list of things that need to be accomplished.
I think that the first thing Isobel is going to work on is I want to take a full look at Zephyr's body, do as close to an autopsy as I can, probably no cutting open, but a full, making all of my notes, collecting samples, and anything like that I can do.
I'll say that you could probably you can't do a full on I'm going to remove all the organ style autopsy, but you could do some light surgery. When you guys bought the RV and started making your changes and stuff last session, you made sure that you were at least pseudo outfitted for that.
Mm-hmm.
The RV is one of the ones that's got they call it a quote unquote garage at the back of the RV that's meant to be where a car would park or whatever. And that's kind of been converted into your surgery because it's the easiest part to clean.
Yeah.
It's also partially the lab you guys have been wanting, or, but working on getting set up. It's not fully outfitted yet because you've only had the RV for a day, but you have some basics set up.
We did finish those puzzles, so if we want to look at where that goes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I just want to take a look at the body before it starts really smelling.
That's very fair.
And somebody's like, that smells like a body.
Arthur?
Well, right now he's super concerned about Rosanna, but following the puzzles and then, looking into the local version of the Church of the Rising Star would be what he wants to do. But, if others are tangled in things, he's going to help with that.
Okay. Well, I'm going to say that we will start with the autopsy because that is Isobel specific. The puzzles are everybody. Piper, I know you also started to dig into the church's finances, but haven't quite gotten there.
Yep.
Gotten through it. I will say that that Nico could be of great help with that because it's a lot of data to sift through. You're better at unpacking it, but Nico is very good at aggregating and collating data. I apologize. Not Nico. Cricket is very good at that. Nico plays cricket. Sorry. It's been a day. Okay. You know that Cricket can help you. You are better with the finances and hacking bank account stuff. That's some pretty high-end risky stuff that generally, if they need that level of information, they come to you for it. But now that you have the information, they are one of those people who would be very good at helping you to go through it, aggregate it, and figure out what it all means. So, Isobel,
Yes.
make me, and I'm going to look at your sheet. Int and medicine roll.
Mhm.
I don't think pathology super fits with what you're looking at because this is weird.
Mhm.
But yes.
Would coldly logical give me any bonuses to this?
Abso-fucking-lutely.
Cool. And coldly logical just reduces the difficulty, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, if I look at it on my sheet. Yeah, -1 difficulty on all related rolls. Cool. I mean, it's still 6 successes.
Well,
You are just on fire today. Good lord. Okay.
There's still time.
So we kind of talked about this a little bit last time. There are a number of injuries, but they are in various states of healing, so none of them look super recent, except some of the bruising. None of them look like they happened like in the minutes or even hours before he died. And none of them look, trying to think of the right way to put this. None of them look post-mortem.
Okay.
If this was a body that was put on your table at your normal job and you didn't know that there was something supernatural that had done this, you would be incredibly perplexed, because there are signs that this person would have to be like old. Like the hair is shock white. The skin is kind of like almost shriveled in some places. You know, they look aged, but you also know from having spoken to Arthur and looking at the skeletal structure that there's no way. Like, this person couldn't be much more than maybe early 30s at the latest. Like, they're young and should have been really healthy, but it's like something hit a switch, and in the last moments of their life, they aged pretty significantly, maybe. Or only parts of them aged. It's very, very odd. You would not be able to give a cause of death on this if you were at work. There is nothing specific about this. You can tell that in the last few months, they've definitely had at least one bone that like got fractured and was never like casted like it should have been.
Yeah.
So they were probably living with some significant pain at times. You find like various healing scars and things like that that are probably within the last few months to the last few weeks old. But there's nothing. Yeah, even with 6 successes, there's no clear sign of death, and you're not even like, this isn't even I don't have a sign of death because I can't a cause of death because I can't find one. You are 99% certain that there isn't one to be found.
It's just they just did.
Yeah, it's literally like somebody reached inside of them and just pulled the life out of them. Like a switch got flipped.
Mm-hmm. And take requisite samples, and I hope to get somebody to, or get it to someplace, or get Allison to help me with analyzing them, figure out if there's anything that way I could use.
Okay, awesome. You are able to take the samples with 6 successes. I'm not even going to make you roll to make sure that they're fine. Like, that was so good. And I feel bad that I couldn't give you more information, but it's genuinely because there's no more information to give you.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes things off of the table, you know,
It does. It takes a lot of things off of the table.
Mhm.
Oh, I mean, you know for certain that there's definitely as much blood in this body as there should be.
Yeah,
You know that much. So this was not a blank body. That's for damn sure.
exactly.
Yeah, not a blank body. Probably wasn't a werewolf because the body's mostly in one piece.
Yep.
That's good to know. That just leads me back to confirming that Speaker is definitely involved here. Still know what it is, what he is, but
No, I think you were right the first time.
yeah.
I mean, do you want me to ask my contact, see if she's encountered anything like this before?
Yeah, any information would be helpful because I'm still very in the dark, and that worries me because it means I don't know how to handle it.
Yeah, no, it is a big fucking question mark.
Yeah.
And I guess the other big question is, we don't exactly have a place to store the body. What would you like to do with it?
Well, I think that we either need to bury it or burn it, and I don't know what Zephyr's preference would be.
Burning it would probably be safer for us.
And also,
Probably
we're in
burning
New Orleans. You can't bury a body here.
Oh, well, then I guess burning it is. Well, I mean, we can take care of it now. I'd like to maybe have a little time with him, or
yeah, you take all the time you need. Like, I'd say if we're gonna burn it, it's probably better middle of the night in an area where we're not going to be interrupted.
yeah. And if Rosanna is fine and she wakes up, then we'll have a little memorial for him. And I think it'd be great if the both of you could help be with us with that.
Yeah.
We did that for Jillian. We haven't done it for Victoria yet, but we should.
Yeah, just let me know when.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. I suppose we will move on to the puzzles. Yes?
Yeah.
All right. Piper, information intelligence and technology, please. I almost definitely didn't say information technology.
No, of course not.
I would never. I never make mistakes like that.
4 successors.
4. Okay. So getting back to the server, actually takes some doing. There is new security, and you have to work your way past it. So it's more time consuming than it was last time, especially because you don't have Rosanna here to help. It's not that you are incapable. It is simply that this is difficult. It was difficult to get into the first time. It is more difficult now that you're alone. But eventually you manage, and you take the end results of all of those puzzles and put them into what turns out to be like it almost looks a little, it's essentially like a cube on your screen. And the cube has like buttons, and you click the button and then it asks you for the answer to one of the puzzles. And assuming that you can put them all in correctly, something will happen. Thankfully, you have all the answers. And being able to put in the answers into the cube is relatively straightforward. It tells you like what section it wants. And when you do it, the cube like kind of shifts and twists at the same time. You see that it's like there are pieces of it. Like this is a series of like individual shapes that have been put together to create a cube. So when it twists, they all start to come apart. And you watch on your screen as they break, and it's kind of beautiful at the same time. It is deeply fucking unsettling to watch. Because everything so far has been about like data. It's been numbers and letters and whatever. Like you haven't had anything this like graphically intensive show up in this whole thing. So the fact that somebody suddenly switched gears to something like this is odd. And it unfolds, and for a second your entire screen just goes black. And you have to like check to make sure that the computer didn't turn off. And then text starts to show up. And you realize that it is names. Just hundreds of names cascading across your screen. And then hundreds becomes thousands. And it's like this constant, almost upwards waterfall of text filling your screen as you are sitting there. And it takes you a minute because there's so much raw data kind of going across the screen. It takes you a minute to really like catch what's happening. You realize that there are dates next to all of them, as well as locations. And at one point you grab a line, just really quickly highlight and copy a line. So that you can look at it more precisely later, because it doesn't look like the data is going to stop anytime soon. And when you paste it into like a notepad, essentially, you realize that it is a name, it is a date, it is a place, and then a essentially what looks like, after doing it with a couple more lines, looks like it might have been like a cause of death. Except that it's less like a medical examiner's cause of death and more like what you would find in like a police report. Or an action report for a military file. There's one that's drained of blood. August 5th, 1967. Baltimore. There's one that's ripped to shreds. December 3rd, 1922. Germany. That sort of thing. And looking at more and more of these causes of death specifically, you are starting to realize that these are almost certainly all deaths that were caused by some sort of supernatural.
Yeah, essentially a giant dossier of supernatural victims.
Seems like it. But they're from all over the place, as far as like places in the world, times that they could have happened, what caused it. Somebody has been compiling a bunch of this stuff. You don't know why or who. But eventually the scrolling stops. And one of the last 10 names on it is a name that none of you immediately recognize. But the location is Raleigh, North Carolina. The date was just a few days ago. And the cause of death is just question mark, question mark, question mark.
I'm not sure what we can do with this, but it seems like somebody's been keeping tabs for a long fucking time.
On victims?
Victims of all kinds of supernatural. Now, this one right here, pretty sure that's Zephyr. Or if not,
Yeah.
one of the other people that was found.
Yeah.
And it's entirely possible this is a list of people like us, people that were hunting something. Because that's what Zephyr was doing. And we know he was with some kind of group based on the phone call you received.
Yeah. He was.
So,
Piper,
yes.
when you highlighted, or when you talked about the line that you were pretty sure was Zephyr, did you click on it? Did you highlight it to like make it
Yes.
stand out?
Yep.
When that happens, a number of other lines above that highlight. And you notice that their causes of death were victim of, and then that weird name that you don't recognize. And there's, if you scroll up, there's a few dozen at least. There are more details, you know, for some of them. For some of them, it's just victim of. For others, it's, for one of them, it's like disemboweled by. Or beheaded by. One of them is captured and tortured until death by.
And I assume these are all more recent ones.
Yep, they're all within the last 3 months, give or take. 2 to 3 months.
Okay, so maybe not people like us. But this one's definitely Zephyr, if Gunshot is to be believed about what Zephyr was doing.
So this is a list of
Zephyr's victims.
It's a list of
Well, not all, but
strange causes of death.
Could these all
Potentially
be
related to the supernatural.
right? Could all of the victims be supernatural? If this is Zephyr, then and then these are Zephyr's victims described dead in the same way that Gunshot described Zephyr's crew doing, then maybe these are all supernatural entities that have been killed by people or other supernatural entities.
It could be. But I think regardless, I think it's worth assuming that there's a group of hunters on the other side of it.
yeah. With just a glance over it, do I recognize any names on it? Like maybe people who have come across my table?
So the part of the problem is that there are thousands of names here.
It's-
However, you did find, Piper did find that when she interacted with the line that was specifically, she was pretty sure it was Zephyr's, it highlighted lines that looked like they were connected to Zephyr.
Mm-hmm.
So if Piper goes and finds like San Diego on that list of locations, She can do that and make me a... Let's do wits and academics.
Yeah. Would my research spec help with that?
Absolutely.
Cool.
And let me look at your advantages, because you've got some... Didn't I give you a... Yeah, I'll say coldly logical will also help.
Cool. That is 2 successes, but I am going to spend a willpower to reroll those failures, see if I can get anything more.
Okay.
7 successes.
Holy Jesus! Isobel!
She wasn't.
Isabel's in her element. Isabel's like, this is puzzles and bodies, and I am good at this.
Mm-hmm. Also, the bot is making it up to me for fucking me over on my Monday game.
There are, in fact, a number of names that you recognize. And their causes of death match up. Almost all of their causes of death match up with what you thought they were. There are a couple that you thought were just normal mundane deaths. It turns out not so mundane. But for the most part, they match.
Yeah, and I'll point them all out and just be like, these are bodies that I've had on my table. Several of them, and actually realize were related to the supernatural. But definitely somebody's keeping an eye on deaths, strange deaths, all over the U.S., I guess.
Wasn't there some in Germany too? Maybe it's the whole world.
Whole world. Yeah.
A quick scroll through definitely suggests that it may not be the whole world, but it is a lot of the world.
Yeah, not just the U.S.
They also must have somebody who has some sort of... it's either like Piper or someone like me who has access to files like these. Just to know some of these causes of death and all of these people who die. It's a lot of work.
Wish I knew if anyone who had ascended would be on this list, but I can't think of anyone, because once they ascended, we never saw them again or heard from them again, and I wouldn't know what happened to their bodies, and therefore would anyone that made this list even know that they had existed, essentially. But I guess it's just kind of a hope that we might see a strange death that resembles the way that Zephyr died.
The only thing I could think of is if we go by unknown causes of death like Zephyr's.
Yeah.
But that leaves a lot of room for error.
Do we have an area where the cult usually operates out of? Maybe we can start with that state and see if anything else pops up.
I know of 2 locations the cult operates out of, one being not far from here, and the other one being California and a kind of a ranch compound outside of LA.
Very Charles Manson of them.
Yeah, at the time we just thought it was clever, isolated, inexpensive place, but
I think that
from
tend
this
to be
side
the
it does.
Yeah, it's exactly why, Charles Manson chose Spawn Ranch, kind of, very isolated.
Piper.
Yeah.
Wits in technology, and yes, your specialization in security does apply.
Okay. Six successes.
6 at a critical. Man, you guys, you're just making it easy for me to tell you all of the things tonight. You realize after a moment that this database, which is what you realize it is after a while,
Yep.
is being accessed by somebody else actively right this second. And you manage to pull up essentially the information on the database, like oh goodness, there's a specific term in tech. and I'm just blanking on it. It's essentially the information on like the file itself rather than the information in the file itself.
Oh, like the file's metadata?
Metadata, that was what I was looking for, yes. Most of the metadata is incredibly sparse or just blank. But because you know that they are currently here, you pull it up and you see that there's a list of logins as part of the metadata. Active logins. Your handle is showing up as one of them, even though you never typed it in anywhere. And there is another handle called Delphi. And when you look at the database, you realize that there are 2 new entries at the bottom.
What are the new entries, BP?
Nobody that you recognize.
Okay.
There is somebody in New York City whose cause of death is soul extraction by changeling.
Oh.
And there is one in Japan. It's post dated, so it predated it. It happened like 2 days ago, but it is listed as having happened in Tokyo, Japan. And it was killed by a vampire. And then a little text box pops up on your screen. And it effectively says, "Congratulations on solving the puzzles. I hope this can be of help. It will be open to you until you give me a reason to believe that you are not someone who is safe, who I can safely entrust it to. Please add entries as you have them." And reach out if I can help. Sorry, they're like actively typing, so there's pauses every so often.
That's fair. I respond with understood. Is Victoria's on here?
There is a long moment where nothing happens, no one answers, and then it just says line number such and such.
Okay, I go to that line.
And it's everything that you know about Victoria so far, except that it gives a much more precise date, which isn't super important to the narrative, just, you know.
Yep.
She was dead a little bit longer than you guys had expected or thought that she was, but Isobel did explain that given where her body was, it was hard to pinpoint. But she was pretty dead on about most of it. And it was mauled by lupine, which is one of those names that you guys have stumbled across that is occasionally used for werewolves.
Yeah.
So we can see this, right? This computer screen.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't listen. For all I know, Piper keeps it all
You are effectively
secret and
standing
hidden.
behind Piper. Unless Piper tells me otherwise, I'm assuming that she's allowing people to see things on the screen.
This was something that, one, we all worked on, and two, can all benefit from, so.
Sure. I guess what I would wonder is, how did this person get this information if we were the ones that took the body?
I mean,
I'm curious to know the network and connections that are going on here.
yeah. I want to make a Greek mythology joke at the name. The Oracle of Delphi.
More people like me. Seems like it's something that's available for anybody they deem worthy of it. So.
All right. So you think we can trust this person for now? Assuming it's another hunter or something.
I think it's more than we had before, so.
Exactly.
Piper?
Yep.
2 new entries.
Yeah.
These are almost up to the minute at this point.
Yeesh.
Interesting.
Are you going to say anything in your little text box, or are you just closing it? I'm giving you the opportunity to attempt to interact with Delphi, or they're just going to log off.
I'm gonna ask, how are you getting this information so fast?
There are there's a minute that goes by without an answer before you get This is me as the storyteller trying to decide what their answer would be. I apologize. Before you get an answer after about a minute that says, "This is what I was created for."
Interesting.
Do you say that?
Yes.
Is it?
Well, so I don't think we're necessarily dealing with another person on the other side of this.
What do you mean?
Oh, they said they were created for this.
Like a frankincense monster, whatever the heck Jillian's group of wraiths were, that kind of thing?
I'm thinking more aligned with technology. Once.
Yeah.
Essentially something given limited automation to assist with what we do.
Skynet, but it finds monsters.
Yeah.
Well, that's a new one, but if there's this database alone, if this exists, then we might be able to, fight whatever's out there, right? Not just like small collectives of those of us who know what's going on, but maybe a bigger sort of scheme, plan.
You know, people have tried that. They end up blinded by greed and end up not doing what they set out to do in the first place.
Fair.
I'm going to type back thank you to Delphi.
You're welcome.
Is there anything else we need right now? This could be very helpful for the future.
There was a mention of a soul steal. Is there any information on what the body looked like, or because one thing that's getting me is something that Gunshop said, something about their soul not being anywhere. And I've kind of been wondering that about the speaker and what happens at Ascension for a little while. It's something I've been pondering ever since I first left.
I mean,
And
like Zephyr's body doesn't like, but despite the fact they are dead, medically they should not be dead. There's no cause of death, so I mean, soul possibly be a soul. Like soul steal is a better option than anything else I had.
Sure, I just wondered if there was any details, because maybe the soul steal looked entirely different than Zephyr's situation. You know, yeah. I'm just thinking out loud on that one, because when we met Jillian again, we discovered that there was something about spirits and souls and what happens to people after they die in the shroud and this whole thing that I'm still not sure I entirely understand. So there's something going on out there and in that world, but Gunshop sort of implied that Zephyr's soul is not anywhere. And I assume that Gunshop kind of maybe knows more about this metaphysical spirit realm of soul crushing thing going on. So I'm just, if there's any more information about that, maybe we can see what it says.
Yeah, I would try and find any more information on that specific cause of death, as well as really any related causes of death due to, souls being stolen, devoured.
So what it actually says is soul extraction. Can you be more specific about what you're looking for? Is it like anything to do with the soul?
I was looking, trying to see if we could just, on the specific case that it just wrote in, like the details of like any details about the scene, the
like state
body,
of the
whatever.
corpse, stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is one of those things that's a little bit weird. Most of the entries, if you click on them, open up files with more information. This one has very sparse information attached to it. There's no police reports. Most of these have police reports or coroner's reports. There is nothing like that. Delphi is still connected if you wanted to try to ask them about this.
Yes. Is there any more information on this entry? Or is this everything?
That is all of the information that I have. I provide anything else I get when I can. Those entries rarely have more information. As far as I can tell, they rarely have bodies. And then you see like the search bar on your screen has soul extraction typed into it, and the database, what you're seeing suddenly shrinks to nothing but soul extraction entries, and there aren't a ton of them, but there's a fair few, and it's all the same thing. And if you click on any of them, there's little to no information. But occasionally you click on one where the date for the soul extraction was 60, 70 years ago. But when you open it, the date of death is much more recent.
Oh, that's...
I mean...
So they managed to live without the soul being intact.
It quite possibly be, people who appear to have some sort of break with reality. Maybe, or people who are left comatose after the event, and eventually just,
Yeah. So they're just alive, soulless.
They're
coma.
physically alive, but
Mhm.
nothing more.
Lights on, no one's home. It's, I mean,
It's starting to sound like a Romero film or something. Zombies running around.
it kind of does, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is a good database, and maybe Piper, you can have your friend look at it, see if they can get any more information from it.
I don't know if that's a good idea, though.
That's your call. They're your friend.
Yeah, I think this is one of those things that they would need to find themselves.
Okay. Well, it's something, and it gives us a direction to move in.
It's certainly a tool, yeah.
Yes. I have more information than we could ever reasonably expect to have, so.
I mean, I've also got a contact here in, well, I'm supposed to meet a contact of Allison's here, and they're gonna hopefully put me in a direction to deal with this curse, but also maybe they know things about that are going on here. Maybe they know anything about the church's activities. I'd be able to figure something out.
Yeah, I surveilled them for a couple of months, and I didn't get a whole lot. So if anyone had anything, it would be helpful.
Apparently, this is a person who's more in touch with the magical stuff. So maybe.
I do hope you understand you're not going to that meeting alone.
I was about to ask who wanted to go with me, because one of us should stay with Rosanna.
Yeah, we're not leaving Rosanna this time. Not like we did Victoria.
It's either that, or I don't know, maybe Gozer will go with me. Big, scary dog.
There's that. Also, I mean, I guess the RV's a little conspicuous.
Take Gozer, take the drone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I imagine they wouldn't take kindly to extra people showing up, so.
It's probably a good idea.
Okay. Are you closing out of the database? You gonna ask Delphi any more questions?
No, I don't think we have anything else for now, so we're going to close out.
Okay.
We need more information to ask more questions.
Understood. All right. You close out of the database. What exactly is next?
It sounds like there's a meeting planned that is going to happen.
I will reach out and figure out exactly where this person that Allison knows is, where to meet them, and all of that.
Okay. So when you call Allison at first, you don't get an answer. But a couple of minutes later, you get a text message that says, I'm in a meeting. Are you in NOLA?
And I'll just reply yes.
They will message you back with an address and a time that's about 3 hours from now. They're sending you to a bar. And then the next message is, strictly speaking, you didn't get this name from me.
Of course.
But tell them I sent you.
Yeah.
And then she follows up with a good luck. Let me know how it goes.
Yeah, I will.
Okay. All right. So you've got a little bit before that happens. Is there anything you guys want to do, or are we fast forwarding?
We could meet with Cricket.
Okay.
Or get that out of the way.
That is a fair point. So I'm going to ask, because this has come up already once this session, are you positioning yourself so that nobody else can see? Or are you going to allow people...
For this is going to be nobody else gets to see what's going on kind of thing.
Okay.
Oh, wait. You're not going to display it on all of our cool screens in our RV?
No.
Alrighty. Make sure that I've got this set up correctly.
Well, in that case, while that's happening, Arthur is going to try to figure out, based on the maps that he has, where this bar is, to see if he can figure out where he can park the RV close enough to be inconspicuous in his typical fashion.
I mean, on the upside, we can just bring Rosanna with us.
Yeah, that's what I mean. She'll be in the RV. It'll be fine.
So there are definitely places you could park the RV, but the RV is never going to be inconspicuous. It's a big ass bus, effectively.
Especially not in New Orleans.
Okay. All right. So you do your thing, make your connections. Cricket, you are working as you usually are on your 10th cup of coffee for the day. And you get a ping from Piper, who you had sent an email to effectively this morning. And it looks like they are getting back to you.
And it's absolutely the same bullshit, different day.
What's our word?
God damn
What
it,
is
Cricket.
your mother's maiden name, first pet, and the street you grew up in high school? It's always dumb Facebook shit.
Just basic security questions.
And then, of course, inevitably, the password for the actual connecting onto the video call comes through.
Jesus fucking Christ.
I'm gonna say that's the answer to each question. The first one is Jesus, the second one is fucking, and the last one is Christ.
Doesn't matter the question.
Every time. Look, if you ever answer one of those in any way correctly, I know it's not you. Easy burner. I get it out of the way quickly. So, what do you want to talk about first? Because I got 4 different leads.
Let's see. We asked you to work on the church. That's probably going to be the best thing since we're close.
All right. So, Speaker Boy has a name. It's probably, if not his real name, it's at least the one that's as close to as he's gonna get. Goes by Liam Key in polite society and possibly impolite society. Like I said, it's either a really good alternate or it's actually his name. He has records going back to young child with this name. So as good as I can get for now on it. I can keep working, but at least for now, that's about as good as it gets. He's not a blank. He has a very good moisturizer, but he's not a blank. He doesn't really have much by way of personal finances. It looks like most of what he gets from the cult. Sorry, the church, the society.
He gets a lot more than he should from that.
Yeah, that seems to be his primary source of funding. It doesn't seem to... His portfolio is not diversified.
Interesting.
The church in and of itself has 2 separate filings. It's not 2 branches of the same church as far as the government's concerned. It is 2 separate churches with the same name. They're both connected, but they're not under the same organization as far as the government's concerned.
Now, is that just tax evasion, or let's be honest, there's probably something else going on.
If we look into the money, that's more your bag, not mine.
I'm already working on that. But there's a lot.
As for our good friend, Mr. Key, we have other friends who have files on him.
Really?
Yeah. Either the government or the Catholic Church, but the intersection by which they meet, I believe the colloquial name for them is the Second Inquisition, has separate files on him. They know he's something. He's not a blank. They don't think he's a mage or a fae, which is wild. He certainly doesn't look like any werewolf I've ever had the pleasure of looking into.
He's definitely not a werewolf.
I feel like he'd be hairier if he was.
Would also be less likely to drain the very life out of people. We had a corpse dropped on our doorstep. Seemed to be one of his doing. No clear cause of death. Should be perfectly healthy, but well, they weren't. And there's nothing left of them other than the corpse.
I hate everything about that and will absolutely continue to look into it for you.
Thank you.
Let's see. What else? That's pretty much what I got on that. Looking through the last of my little notes. Yeah, that's what I got there. Once I get everything reset up here, I can do a little bit more deep diving. I had to shift a bit. You have some enemies, and now I have some enemies.
Which one of them's after you?
That's a great question. When I know, I'll tell you. I have to do, again, once I get things rejiggered over here, I'll be able to look into some of the little snippets of badges I could see. Badges is the wrong word. Identifiers.
Oh, all right.
So, as soon as I know, you'll know.
Right.
Especially because if they're coming after me, then they'll likely eventually trace back. But, maybe not. It's always good to be prepared. All right, so that is our friend Mr. Key. That is our friends at the church. We also have that one person you wanted me to look into, and we have the Linnaeus Society also. Which one would you like to hear first?
What do you got on the guy I asked you to look into?
So, I can neither confirm nor deny that he's a blank. I can confirm that he's been missing from Chicago for a hot second. So it's more likely than not. I would err on the side of caution on this one. Caution being that he's gonna rip your throat out, not caution don't assume. He's been missing in Chicago since before, remember those explosions? Yeah, before that, but not by much, couple days. He used to be a medical examiner. His actual name is Vincent Pendleton. It's very likely he's got a pseudonym going on. In fact, he probably has multiples if he's been missing for this long and no one's caught on really. He's probably shifting through a couple of identities, I would imagine. No one found his body, so he was listed as missing. Everyone thought he died during the explosions, and by everyone, I mean, the people who were looking for him, and no one actually found his body. I'll forward you a couple of names if you want to look into personal finances, see if any of them have tax records, things like that. I will forward you those. They are, and there's a file that comes along with all of this info as well, so that you've got it digitally, and it has his name as well as a couple of pseudonyms: Edward Carnby, Stephen Sharp, and Jonathan Turlow. Yeah, that seems to be most of it. There is also I think that covers everything with him. So can't confirm ties to him to any particular blank organization like setup. But if he's not, then he has gone through a hell of a lot of trouble to just not be in Chicago anymore, which is also not great.
Yeah, either he is or he's working very closely with some very dangerous things.
Yeah, that was my thought. All right.
And the Linnaeus Society.
The Linnaeus Society is a couple of files. So they're fun. And by fun, I mean the fucking worst. Because the nice thing about blanks is you can expect certain behaviors. They're not going to show up on scans. They're not going to walk around during the daytime. They don't typically have appointments at 4 p.m. Linnaeus Society does have some of those. So they are absolutely tied to blank bodies, but not necessarily every member is one. There are records of some of their members checking in at the airport for their flight at 1, going to the doctors and getting MRIs and X-rays. There are some who look like they should be, right? They look like they have records going back, like photos or paintings of them in the 1800s, and yet they went to some dude's Little League game at noon. So like I said, a fun little conundrum. They have a decent number of people on their staff. Staff is a strong word. There are a decent number of people in their particular society that are specifically experts in genealogy. They seem to be doing some sort of genealogical research, looking for specific people. That's about as far as I've been able to tease that out. Whatever they do with that information is offline, and I can do many things, but hack a paper file I cannot. Not everyone who starts to join their society makes it, but people that do, not all people, but some people that do, end up getting planked later. So there is definitely a recruitment to turning pipeline, but it's not necessarily a 1-to-1. So whatever it is, it's not just a churn of blanking people.
Okay.
They do seem to have an actual society front to them, which is better than not, I imagine. Better that than just all of their recreational activities being the blood-sucking kind.
Yeah, they at least have some dedication to keeping up a face.
Yeah. The fact that people wash out is also very encouraging, for lack of a better word. People can actually fail. They can flunk out of the Linnaeus Society. Who knew?
Now, when you say that, do they just go back to their normal lives, or do they not wake up later?
Some of them just disappear. Cricket.
Some go back to their normal lives. Not all of them. I would say a not insignificant number disappear. but some do. I imagine it depends on how far into things they get.
Yep, it depends on how much they learn.
Yeah.
If they know too much, it's easier to just get rid of them than to let them go.
As callous as this is going to sound, and like, trust me, I do understand that this comes from a deep-seated place of seeing too many of these. Not the worst as far as secret societies go with regards to what they do with the dropouts. Not the best.
At least
but,
some of them get to leave.
Yeah. So, any additional things you would like me to peruse in my downtime?
There was one person. I believe I sent a picture of them with a very close friend of mine. I'm not sure how often he uses this name, but Matt Greenbrier. If you could look into that name.
I can give it a whirl.
That he might not be one of the ones that's after you, but he's definitely one of the ones that's after me. So,
Cricket, the name Greenbrier, it's a little bit of a delayed reaction because you're, kind of in the process of looking through all of the things that you've collected and sharing everything. But after a moment, it hits you. You didn't run into a Greenbrier, but one of the people who was looking into you, and you got word about, identified themselves as Agent Blackbriar. You only you knew the locals where you were, and somebody tipped you off that somebody was asking about you and was going by Agent Blackbriar, and you were like, that's a really corny name, but also I have to go.
Okay. In that case, trade for trade. I'll look out for a Greenbriar. You look out for a Blackbriar, and we'll see how many more colors of the rainbow he gets.
Probably quite a few.
We get to Redbriar, does that mean, we shut everything down?
It's that or he's already dead.
I prefer the second one.
We'll just have to see how things go.
Seems like you're definitely keeping safer than I am, so in this case, I'm going to wish myself a keep safe. Keep safe. I will look into that. I'll forward anything I find to you. And if you need me, you know how to reach me.
Yeah, don't do anything that would put yourself in more danger than you're already in by helping me.
Too late.
It always is.
With that, there's no other sign off. It's just the video closes down.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. All right. Oh. Piper. Are you going to have a discussion with your friends, or are you just going to pack up and take Isobel to her appointment?
Yes. No, we are. We're gonna talk about the stuff that we learned, especially about the speaker and the fact that he does at least have a name that he's using. So we've gotten some information on a few of the things going around. We have a name for the speaker, which we might be able to use in quite a few different ways. So keep an eye out for a man named Liam Key. If you run into him,
Key.
if you run into somebody going by that name, it's probably best that you run.
Liam Key.
Ring a bell for you, aren't they?
No, it really doesn't.
You just always call him the speaker.
Mhm.
Mr. Speaker, Sir Speaker.
The speaker.
But
There's only one in the entire world.
we do have confirmation that he's not blank, he's not a fae, not a mage, and obviously, based on what he did to Zephyr, not a werewolf.
Yeah.
And that information is coming from our friends over at the Second Inquisition. Because they've apparently been at least keeping some eye on him, so they've got some files on him.
That's good to know.
Beyond that, it seems like most, if not all of his finances come from the church.
Yeah, that's kind of what I expected to hear. So, how does that match with what we found?
But I wouldn't be surprised if he's using the church's donations as a personal bank account. Or at least as close to it as he's got.
Makes sense. Very classic cult leader behavior.
Mhm.
As for our friend that gave Isobel her lovely little curse, well, apparently the two of you have something in common. He was a medical examiner. He's been missing from Chicago for... The two of you have any recollection of...
It's been several months. There was an explosion, or there were a number of explosions in Chicago several months ago. Goodness, it was a few months before season 1, I believe. Nobody really knew. Like the news media said that it was obviously some sort of terror attack. A number of terrorist organizations took responsibility. But those with a little bit more know-how about the stuff that goes on behind the scenes are reasonably certain that's probably not. It probably wasn't them. But it would be, you don't know for sure who did it, just that it seemed a little too sudden and a little too, despite it being several buildings that got leveled and quite a lot of bodies, it seemed almost too organized to just be terrorists.
Yeah, so he's been missing since a bit before that.
Literally, the file that you have says that he went missing
Just a couple days.
a few days beforehand, maybe a week.
And do you think it's worth me trying to get in contact with somebody there, as if, asking any questions?
It might be worth it. For now, what we do have is we have a few names.
Okay.
His actual name, which I doubt is the name he's going by, it's Vincent Pendleton. The names that I think we should keep an eye out for are Edward Carnby, Stephen Sharp, and Jonathan Turlow. These are all pseudonyms that he's been using. I'd be surprised if there weren't at least a half dozen more. But for now, that's what we have.
Well, yeah, I can probably tomorrow, after it's a more reasonable hour, reach out to see if I know anybody or have any connections, or just the fact that, hey, I'm an MME. I need to ask one of your MMEs some questions about something that's appeared on my table.
Yep. And then last thing I got was my friends at the Linnaeus Society. They're not all blanks, but as we saw, there are definitely some ties to them. So, at least some in their number are, and I'm sure there are more connections beyond just those that are a part of the society. Their recruitment process isn't foolproof. Not everybody makes it through. Some of those that fail to make it through go back to their normal life. Some of them disappear. They're gone. Odds are, depends on how much they learn about the society. But if nothing else, it means we might be able to find somebody that can give us some information that isn't directly a part of it.
Some other rejects that managed to go back to the normal life, you're saying?
Yeah. It's not likely, and even if we do, I doubt they'll know anything terribly useful, but almost anything is better than what we have right now. At least in terms of recruitment.
Yeah, which is a whole lot of nothing.
Speaking of recruitment, those that do make it through, some of them get turned into blanks later on. I would imagine it's a similar process to what your speaker does with Ascension. Essentially, those that prove themselves properly get, at least in the eyes of their society, rewarded with this. Essentially, it's the carrot on the stick, trying to get people to do good by the society.
So they can become a vampire and be vampire-like.
Yes. I'm not sure. I would be surprised if they're open about what it is, or if it's kept vague. But regardless,
sure, like Ascension. That's what you mean. Yeah.
Regardless, it happens. And the fun thing that they've been doing is genealogy. They've been doing research, I'm assuming fairly wide-branching genealogical research, looking for some very specific people. I'm not sure who exactly they're looking for, but
Piper, as you're looking through these files and kind of showing them some of the stuff that Cricket found, it's not just genealogists, it's also geneticists.
Oh. So yeah, genealogy and genetics. So they're looking for something very specific.
Isobel, given your training as a medical professional, you have a better understanding than Piper and Arthur do about what some of the names after these, or some of the acronyms after these names mean. Some of these people have like full-on a number of these people have full-on like doctorates, but not just like medical doctorates, like more academic. Some of them are more academically oriented. Some of them have like multiple doctorates.
Yeah.
Like these are some seriously well-trained people.
Yeah,
in branches of STEM research that are very competitive and difficult to get through.
Yeah, and all sort of like that. I'm just being like, I mean, it might be worth it seeing if we can look into any of these people and maybe they publish dissertations. Maybe figure out what exactly they're doing for the society through that, looking into them and what they do.
And if nothing else, we could probably find out how long they've been working with the society.
Yeah. It's not like they list on LinkedIn, but you know.
Generally, I doubt the society likes to do much outside of it.
Yeah.
So I'm sure if we find an abnormal gap.
Yeah.
So they're just looking through genes and family history, looking for something.
Yeah.
Just some kind of Kwisatz Haderach type situation or something. I read Dune. I know what that means.
I have no clue. But they're looking for something. Oh, one thing I did forget to mention. The society, at least some of the members, seem to have portraits dating back centuries. But from the sounds of it, those same people have been seen walking into the sun.
Would I know about ghouls and how ghouls, or at least kind of a vague idea about ghouls and
Make
how
me
they might
an
work?
occult check.
Yeah.
You have a vampire specialization, don't you?
I probably should, but I didn't.
Probably
You
should.
don't. Ooh.
Yeah, I really should. I should spend that experience. And it's 6 dice, nothing to cough at.
Arthur,
That's
I just
fine.
want you to know that I lost it.
That's pretty
I
all right,
read
I guess.
Dune. I know what that means. I've lost my mind.
Listen, Dune, came out at a time
It is
when Arthur was still
certainly a
here.
thing. Yeah. You've heard about ghouls. You don't know the details, but you do know that vampires can do something with human servants that makes them long-lived, strong, and gives them a small amount of the blank body's supernatural and preternatural gifts.
Yeah, just feeling. I mean, don't fully know, but a lot of blank bodies do have the ability to share some of what they have. Yeah, I think it's through something to do with their blood.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes this less of a mystery then.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a good possibility that they're vampire servants. Renfield kind of thing.
Okay, that a reference I get to.
Yeah, I read Dracula. I know what that means. She's staring at Arthur.
I read it too. I know what that means.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Renfield is Dracula's servants.
No, I said I read Dracula. I know what that means. Yeah.
I will be completely honest. I don't believe.
Yeah, it stars a
love
young
the
lawyer who goes to take the accounts on for a vampire whose name is Dracula. He has a servant. There's a whole thing with Renfield, and his the lawyer's wife or fiance was named Mina. I read the book. Okay.
All right.
I saw the movie.
Okay. Cool. Anything else? I'm assuming, Piper, that you're going to want to come back to the banking stuff later.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be
I need to go to bed.
Okay.
Not now, but there are other things that need to be done now.
Right. Okay. So what's the plan? Are you guys all going with Isobel? Is Isobel and like one person going and another person is staying? Like what is the plan?
If it's going to be in like a bar, Piper would want to go just to keep an eye on things, but not like be with Isobel.
Enter like 30 seconds after I do sit far enough away that we don't look like we're in the same group.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the two vaguely goth chicks with brightly colored hair could never possibly be together, but I get it.
I mean, Arthur would probably be the better one to send, be less conspicuous.
Yeah, but it's also
he's
Arthur.
wearing.
But it's also Arthur
We're a
who has the
priest
habit
scholar.
of like glaring at everybody.
Listen, he can blend in a crowd. It's true. He can blend.
It was either that or I take Gozer and pass Gozer off as a service dog.
I mean, no, whichever. It makes sense.
I can probably make
Listen,
documents for that.
I am just giving Arthur no end of shit because it's what I do. That's like half of my marching orders with this show is to give Arthur problems.
I mean, you're making a point. You're making a point, though, that it seems while it's kind of a toss-up because on one side, Arthur would want to stay near Rosanna to protect her, and then on the other side, he'd want to go into the barn case just to punch someone in the face. So either way, it's kind of a toss-up. So I guess it really comes down to what Piper wants to do.
Isabel's not expecting this to go pear-shaped like that. It's like beating a contact.
Murphy's Law.
I'll leave it up to you guys. What do you want to do?
No, I guess it really boils down to what Piper wants to do. Because Arthur really would rather probably protect Rosanna.
Yeah, Piper would go along with Isobel. And
Okay, then I'm gonna say that it's Piper and Isobel, and Arthur is gonna stay at the RV.
Yeah.
They will park close enough by that if Arthur absolutely has to drop everything and run in and beat the crap out of somebody, he's not too far away, but there will still be a delay to him getting to you if something goes wrong.
yeah,
Also, just remember that Zephyr's body is also in the RV, so that's 2 people he has to protect.
yeah.
Yes, protect the corpse. Okay, cool.
Protect the corpse and the definitely not a corpse.
Yeah. Well, we also have problems with corpses walking away.
She's
so
just a little catatonic.
Tiny bit catatonic. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Everything's
She'll wake
fine.
up. It'll be
It's
fine.
It's fine.
Okay. All right. So, Isobel and Piper. You guys drive the RV over, get as close as you can. Arthur's going to be about a block away. And you two hop out. Isobel walks, Isobel leaves about 30, couple minutes ahead of time to give Piper some space before she leaves. You walk into a bar. It is kind of one of those, like, you can tell the second you get there that it's kind of one of those little, like, hole-in-the-wall bars, like the locals go because, they pour with a heavy hand and only locals come here, and it is not a tourist trap.
Mm.
The second thing that you realize is that it's not a tourist trap. It's also very much a local bar. Because when you walk in, everybody kind of stops and looks over at you. Because you are not somebody that they recognize.
Nice stand out.
You do. Most of the people in this bar are African American. And nobody really says anything, but they're all kind of eyeing you like, what the fuck is this white chick with green hair doing here? And then they sort of like kind of not quite as a group, but one by one start to go back to their drinks and their conversations, but you can tell that their conversations are significantly quieter than they were when you walked in.
Gonna just sidle up to the bar and order a drink. I don't know who I'm meeting, so I'm guessing they know who I am.
When you sit down, what are you ordering, first of all?
Honestly, this feels like a place where Isobel would probably just order whatever's on tap. Wouldn't like get a mixed drink or anything. It'd probably be like a vodka soda if she did. But it's probably just, whatever good's on tap.
Okay. So you order one of the local beers, it looks like. And then a woman sits down next to you and says she'll have a bourbon. And when you look over, it is this gorgeous woman, she's a gorgeous black woman with like long dreads, but they've been kind of swept up in this really cool, like twisted style above her head. She's got, long nails that are painted this dark, like burgundy. In fact, in the dim lighting, at first you think they're black, before you realize that it's actually like red. And she kind of looks you over and she goes, they did get you bad, didn't they?
Yeah, it's been a rough couple of days. Saying the bourbon is appreciated.
You're going to need it if this is going to go the way I think it is.
Yeah, Allison sends her regards.
You'll nod. Oh, well, she got me out of a tight spot a few years ago, so I owe her. And with this, I will be out of her debt, and she can take her skinny white ass up out of my business.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. And she kind of she reaches up and takes your chin and does that thing where she's like turning your face one way and the next. And you don't know what she's looking at, but she seems to know what she's looking at. And Piper, that's kind of what you walk into. Is Isobel and this woman talking, and this woman kind of like manhandling Isabel's face. There's another one of those moments where everybody kind of stops and looks over at you, except the woman at the bar. But like everybody kind of turns and they kind of stare at you, and they all kind of look at Isobel, and then they stare at you, and there's a grumble. And then everybody kind of turns back to what they were doing. The woman who is studying you, Isobel, kind of looks over at Piper, arches a brow for a minute. Friend of yours?
We've had bad things happen when we go off on our own buddy system.
Well, tell her to come over here. Trying to walk in looking like you don't belong together doesn't exactly work.
Just wave you over then.
Okay, yeah. Shrugs. All right.
All right. Well, finish your bourbon, and then we will go.
I'm gonna just knock that thing back.
She'll kind of turn to Piper. You're not... No, you are not. Okay, I will let you come with us, but you've got to stand a good 20 feet back while this is working, or you'll probably fuck it up.
And we did bring the anti-magic person.
Did. On the bright side, if something goes wrong, she could run in and hug you, and hopefully everything will be okay. You'll still be cursed, but at least nothing else bad will happen, hopefully.
All right, I can stay back.
She kind of hops off of her stool, and you realize that she is quite short. She seemed somewhat tall as she was coming up beside you, and you realize it's only because she was wearing heels. So once she's up on the stool and she doesn't have the benefit of the heels to help make her taller anymore, you realize that she's rather on the petite side. But she leads you both kind of out. And you follow her for a good block and a half, 2 blocks to just this very nondescript like townhouse. Like it's still like, that French architecture, that Parisian architecture, but it's effectively a townhouse. And she leads you in and through the main floor because it's a straight shot from the front door to the back door and out into this little like backyard area. The first thing you notice upon getting out there is that there are a number of like terrariums and cages with different reptiles in them. And there is like a fire pit in the middle of all of it, and there is the distinct tinge of the distinct tinge of old blood back here.
Mhm.
It's not overwhelming, but it's definitely like there's got to be like a residue of the stuff somewhere. And you've been around blood enough in your job that you kind of recognize immediately what it is. And she sort of looks over at you again and shakes her head a little bit. I can't promise that I can fix this. This is a whole lot deeper than your friend Allison said it was going to be.
Honestly, I will take anything. Right now, you're my only lead. Well, not my only lead, but it is the best that I have right now.
Well, have a seat. You can sit over there. And she kind of gestures Piper towards like a shaded spot.
Okay.
That's as far on the other side of this little like yard area as she can manage. What follows is a complex series of things. There's everything from her bringing a book out from inside that looks like a heavy leather-bound wrapped tome that she sort of flips through. She, doesn't quite burn sage, but does something very similar to like you've seen people burn sage. There's a lot of chanting. At some point, she talks about some of the things that she's doing. Like she casts what she says is a protective circle. But I'll be honest with you, you don't track most of it because you have a fairly scientific mind, so I'm not going to go into every little thing. But you can tell that by the end of it, she has used a book. At one point, she pulls out one of the reptiles. She pulls out a rather hefty snake that she kind of drapes around her neck while she's chanting. And by the time it is over, you slip into the state that, like, have you ever been under like twilight anesthesia?
Yeah.
Where you're in that kind of like not really awake, but not really asleep. Everything feels vaguely dreamlike.
Yeah.
You kind of fall into that space. And that's when the pain starts. You fall into that state mentally, but unfortunately the pain in your body is still very much there and you feel all of it. It feels like almost the opposite of what I described the curse taking hold feeling like, where when the curse took hold, it felt like you were cold and it was like the kind of cold that burns. This is fire getting pumped through your veins, like liquid fire. It is agony of a different kind, because when it was cold, it was like you were in so much pain you couldn't move. This, you feel like you have to move, but every move makes your nerve endings scream. She was not wrong when she said you were going to need the bourbon. She probably should have let you have the whole fucking bottle, though.
Probably.
And by the time it's over, you are exhausted. The pain is still there, but it's like an echo. It is slowly kind of going away as the magic fades. Piper, your senses, assuming that you had them up, were going ballistic throughout all of this. This was a lot of magic. It was not like, it's very much mage magic, for reference, with the way that your sensors and stuff are set up. Like, you recognize the tone that is playing in your ear. She's a mage. She's a weird flavor of mage that you've never encountered before, but she's a fucking mage.
To be fair, that brings the number of mages I've encountered up to 2. So
I mean, that's fair. That's fair.
Same.
Her magic does not feel like gun shops. Not even a little bit. Or I should say, does it feel, it does not sound like gun chops, but it is still very obviously mage magic. By the time it is over, Isobel, she walks over and she cuts off a piece of hair towards the back of your neck. She is kind enough not to chop off the front of it. Takes a piece off the back, wraps it around what you realize when she hands it to you, or what you realize as she's working on it, wraps it around what looks like a large snake's fang. That she has dripped a couple of drops of her own blood into the hollow of. And then she takes all of that and a few other sundry pieces and drops them into like a bag, like a leather pouch, which she ties tight and hands over. I couldn't remove it. I tried. But this'll buy you some relief when you need it.
Thank you. We'll take it from her, kind of probably with rather shaking hands.
I could have maybe made it slightly more effective if I'd had help, but I can't exactly tell the people that I work with about you or your contact.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll take anything at this moment. Yeah.
Mechanically, Isobel, what you have is a gree bag. And if you spend a willpower point, you can turn off the effects of the curse for a scene. If you spend 2 willpower points, you can shut it down for a day. It won't always be a 100% thing. There's you can shut it down for the day, but there are things that could potentially override it or make it glitchy is the best way I can put it.
Yeah.
And she kind of explains that the stuff that makes it glitchy is specifically like encountering that type of magic again. To some degree, there's a chance that being super close to Piper could do it. So maybe
Piper and
don't.
I have separate sides.
So maybe
RV now.
So maybe don't get intimate if that's the way you swing. Is essentially how she explains it. She's not 100% sure, but there is a chance that if you are too close to Piper, it might not work. If you encounter something that is in some way, shape, or form tied to whatever the curse was making you see, and she very specifically says, I can tell that the curse is tapping it. She says, I can tell that the curse is tied to your trauma.
Yeah.
It's infecting your blood, but it reaches into your psyche.
Something.
It is grabbing onto your worst fear, and it's feeding off of it, and that's why you see what you see. If it had happened to her, and she points at Piper, assuming that it could have, which I don't think it could, but if it could have taken root in her, she'd see something different. She'd see what she fears most.
I guess I just have more reasons to find the fucker who did this and I guess put them in the ground again.
Yeah, would not surprise me if it was one of those.
We
tied to your blood.
Yeah, we
Someone with
theories.
potent enough magic or another vampire.
Yeah.
Who is capable of replicating that sort of spell, and they might be able to break it, or at least tell you how. But there are also people and things with stronger magic than I got.
Yeah, Thank you.
Yeah, you tell your contact that we are settled and she is not to message me again, n'est-ce pas?
Of course. I will tell her probably tonight.
Good. And she will see you all back to the door, looks over at Piper. Don't ever come in my house again. You make me uncomfortable.
I don't think I did anything.
It is not what you did. It is what you are. You are just a brick wall. I don't like it.
I have
Do
no
you not
clue
realize
Realize what?
magic just... I could throw everything I have at you magically, and it would just hit you and dissipate. It's not like you reflect it. It just doesn't do anything.
No, I was not aware of that. I'm not exactly sure how I would be aware of that.
I don't even think you have an aura. If you do, it is very, very faint. I'm not the best at seeing those things, though.
Well, in that case, I am sorry.
Well, if you did it on purpose, then you should be. If not, then I'm sorry for you. A life without magic is empty. And she sort of waves you out the door.
Thank you.
You are welcome. And she will shut the door. And as you are walking away, you hear something along the lines of freakish little white girls up in my house. And that's the last thing you hear of her. All right. Isobel and Piper, you walk out of this woman's house. That took a while. It is late. Piper, you are exhausted. It has been a fucking day. You are ready to fall into whatever the nearest bed is. You now have the note that you cannot sleep too close to Isobel, probably. Because there's a chance that the thing that she was given, her little bag, won't work. Maybe.
Noted.
Well,
Not that you were planning to be cuddle buddies, right?
It
wasn't
in
on the
plan.
docket.
Wasn't in the
Yeah.
plan.
It wasn't, but now it's not.
Exactly.
It wasn't not on the plan.
It wasn't,
What?
but now it still isn't.
Yeah, it wasn't, and now it's on the board of don'ts.
Yes. It is now on the plan of something we're not doing.
Oh, there's a part of me that is a little sad that means that we probably won't have an Isobel and Piper sloppy drunk episode like we had an Arthur Rosanna sloppy drunk episode in season 1.
I mean, it could
I'm a
still
little sad.
happen, but
It could. That's just gonna be real fucking awkward.
I got 5 episodes to break the curse. Or we stop relying on the bag and Piper just turns the curse off for us.
Okay. You make it back to the RV. It is late as fuck. You climb in. I'm going to assume that you are going to make Arthur drive the RV back to the campground.
Yeah.
While you guys crawl into bed and pass the fuck out. Isobel, because that level of pain for that level of time is exhausting. And Piper, because it's been a long fucking day. And you've been doing a lot of mental heavy lifting and you sleepy.
I did want to just
And-
quickly check on Rosanna, make sure, do the whole real quick pulse, check the eyes or, whatever, breathing, everything fine.
Yeah. She's fine. It's another one of those situations where once again it takes a couple of minutes to verify the pulse, but once you find it, she's good. She's very, very, very still. Like her breathing is so shallow that you almost can't see it. Can't see her chest move. So
You also find that Arthur put a blanket over her while you were gone.
Oh.
Before passing out, Piper is going to send a quick text to Melanie just to let her know that she's okay.
Okay. Melanie texts back. Thank you for checking in. Love you very much. Be safe. Go to bed. It's late there. Arthur, just to be clear, was there anything you wanted to do while they were busy?
No, the only things that Arthur did was have a moment where he just kind of sat with Zephyr and, stared at him and got angry that Zephyr's not around to stop them if things go badly. And then he checked on Rosanna and put a blanket on her, brushed a hair out of her face kind of thing. And then waited while he wrote in his journal. That's all he did while they were gone.
Okay. Cool. You get back to the campground, you park, hook everything up the way that it needs to be hooked up, expand the parts of the RV that expand so that you guys have plenty of room and comfort, and everybody goes to bed. For those of you who are sleeping, I'm hoping it is all of you, you regain as many willpower points as you have in either resolve or composure, whichever is higher.
Before going to bed, Arthur will check all the security things to make sure that the RV is good to go, locked up and whatnot. Because apparently, I don't know, mages just show up and throw confetti at us.
Oh yeah, we don't mention the other mage to Arthur.
We don't. No, it is literally. It's
That's probably a conversation that was had on the way home, where you're just we're not telling Arthur about it, right?
We don't mention this to Arthur. Apparently, I'm some kind of magical dead zone. That's fun. I'm gonna unpack that later.
no time to unpack it right now.
No need to unpack it right now.
Piper's like, I'm happy to be a magical dead zone.
I am
There's a lot
okay
of
with
fucking
this.
people with magic around lately. Okay.
Look, just hug the magical people. Maybe that'll stop them.
Piper out here defeating mages through the power of friendship and warm hugs. Okay. You get some sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Regain your willpower as needed. The next morning, everybody wakes up. What's everybody's plan for the day?
I don't know what we were planning to do for Zephyr or anything. At some point I will call Allison, but probably be later in the day.
Right, because she is 3 hours behind you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we did have a plan to take care of the body at night, but we all were too exhausted, I think.
Well,
Well, it
also,
was well after
we wanted-
midnight, so
We also wanted Rosanna. So.
Yeah.
Fair.
okay.
Arthur's only plan for today is continue to wait to see what happens with Rosanna and see if there's anything he can find out about the cult. So he has some information, but he doesn't really know how to Google very well. So,
Does Arthur also want to be a part of destroying the cult's finances?
Oh, yeah, absolutely would be something he would be part of.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll start there, huh? We'll start with the finances. Piper, I assume you were calling in backup.
Yeah,
to help you
we're gonna reach
aggregate
out.
and go through all this information.
Yep, gonna reach out to Cricket. Be like,
Okay.
hey, remember that financial information I had?
Cricket, you get a message that says, hey, do you remember all of that financial information I had?
Yes. Just 3 question marks.
Yeah, we're going over it.
There's like a brief pause, so it's not an immediate send, but like 2 seconds later, there is
There's a pause.
pause.
Don't you fucking dare. Okay.
It's the temptation is there, but also like no, and just sends the link over.
Cool. All right.
All right. You pull the thing up. This is an important question. Your screen, is it facing towards everybody so that they can help?
Yes.
All right. Everybody sees Cricket filter up on the screen, and Cricket also sees everybody. And Cricket, there's somebody missing who should be here.
Well, and I don't think I've met.
You haven't met
the
any
other
of these
either.
people. You have heard of them, but you have not met them.
So
Or you heard of Arthur. You may not have heard about Isobel.
It's definitely then the count, I know that Rosanna got me her handle. The player, is facing on it. Thank you, Thorn. So we're down a Thorn and we're up 2 people. Explain.
She'll point using the camera. Arthur, Isobel.
And then, as if he is annoyed that he has been left out, a very large head that looks more wolf than dog inserts itself between Piper and the screen as Gozer tries to be a lapdog.
And Gozer.
Gozer is an important member of the team.
Team mascot.
I would argue the most important member.
I don't know that I would go that far.
Most of the time, yeah.
Yeah.
And Arthur and Gozer just have a look with each other. What? I'm barely getting used to you, buddy.
Gozer snorts at you.
So all information is going through Gozer from now on. Sorry, but that's the rules.
No, that's understandable.
Cool. So Gozer, what information do you need me to sort through? This goes on.
Gozer does the thing where his ears tilt forward towards the camera, and then he tilts his head to the side like a confused puppy.
I may have to be a translator.
Of course.
And a document with at least the information that we've gotten so far is sent over about the cult's finances.
So here's the thing. The cult have a lot of finances. It's more than one document. It's several zip files, that sort of thing. Cricket, as you pull stuff up on your screen, you realize that, she wasn't fucking kidding when she said that she was handling the finance stuff for the cult. There are many accounts here that are tied to some are tied to the cult, some are tied to LLCs that are sort of tied to the cult, that sort of thing. It's a lot. Whoever set this up knows what they're doing in order to avoid all kinds of legal loopholes and issues with taxes and things like that. This isn't even something that you'd have to really roll. You can tell that there is a fairly significant amount of probably money laundering going on. There's a lot of money in and out, but it's never huge. None of the transfers are huge. They're all under, I think it's 10 grand is usually the limit before a transaction gets looked at for a minute by government. So they're all various sizes and they're all under 10 grand, but some of these accounts are worth millions. Now, that being said, Piper is going to be making some rolls.
Yes.
The fact that you are helping her is going to give her 2 extra dice. If Isobel would like to help, because Isobel, you have research specialization.
Yeah.
I will give her 1 extra die for that. Arthur, there is help that you'll be able to give later, but this is not that place. This is very out of your wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Given that you have no dots in finances, so
He's just staring at the screen, wondering how they have enough mattresses to fit all this money in.
It's like looking at the fact that they're obviously not storing it in mattresses.
All right. Give me intelligence and finance
Into finance.
with those 3 extra dice.
4, 5, 8, and then can I use desperation?
You can absolutely use desperation.
All right, and then
Y'all are on session 5, and this is what, like, the 3rd time anybody has used desperation. I think all of the times it's been used this season, it's been you. So
yeah, I think so. Is there a specific difficulty you want me to roll against?
nope, just roll.
6 successes.
Ooh. That's not bad. That's pretty good. Okay. Wow, 6 successes. All right. Are you sure you don't want to try for more?
8 successes.
Excellent. Awesome. You didn't have to, but I was curious if you wanted to because you had some dice that weren't successes.
True.
Okay. Oh dear. Cricket has a spider.
Yep.
Loose in their desk.
no.
Oh no.
Somewhere
A
wild.
fugitive.
All right. Sorry, I got distracted.
Same.
Okay. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is stuff that Cricket is going to notice, and it's only because Cricket is the one who has done the deep dive into the cult's other side of things, along with some other organizations. So the first thing that Cricket picks up on is Cricket is looking at some of the accounts that some of this money is going or coming from, specifically incoming money into some of these accounts, and is kind of cross-referencing with things. Cricket, there is an account that looks very familiar to you that has a name that you recognize. And there are 3 payments from this account. The name on it is... This is me trying to find the thing. Ba-ba-da. Jonathan Turlow.
That would immediately get forwarded over to Piper. Just sent over, and also verbally, like, I imagine that there's a little bit of back and forth going on as we're searching through things.
Oh yeah.
But just like without any hesitation and not even bothering to make sure like that I'm not interrupting anyone. Just like, Turlo is one of our buddies.
Yeah, guy from Chicago.
Yep. Sending you this now, and like isolating that and sending that directly over.
Mm-hmm. So there are 2 payments from Jonathan Turlow into one of these accounts. They are for different amounts, but are in roughly the same range. They're both between like 8 and 9 grand.
So we might a couple options here. Either the Linnaeus Society and the Church of the Rising Star are working together, or the Linnaeus Society isn't the one that had something to do with Victoria's death, or disappearance, rather.
What? Oh, hold on. Did you say that either they're connected or the society had nothing to do with her disappearance?
Yes, either the two are working together, or the Church of the Rising Star spoke of Victoria's body.
Why would they steal Victoria's body?
How would they even know who Victoria? Oh, that could be.
Please explain.
That could be.
Well, the speaker, at least at one point, had access to Zephyr. So I wouldn't be entirely surprised if he got information from them.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, we're not exactly difficult to track most of the time.
Oh, incredibly.
See, there's a few things happening with the speaker that I've begun to think. On the one side, I do think that the Linnaeus Society may be involved with the speaker, but that's more of the information that you would be trying to find for us. Are they linked in some kind of span? If they have similar styles, maybe they're another pseudo-religious organization. Maybe they're friends or partnerships, but...
The problem with that is with the links between Ascension and people turning blank is just how cults operates. There's got to be some sort of carrot on a stick. It's how they get people in. It's how they keep them in.
Yeah, that's fair. But the speaker has been, from what I understand, doing a couple of moves, and I'm not entirely unconvinced that these aren't traps for me specifically. I thought for potentially maybe Zephyr and I, but Zephyr is dead. He's brought my wife into his closer connection, which means that either he plans to ascend her or he knows that I communicate with her or thinks that I can communicate with her and is trying to get me to move on him when I'm not ready, or he can set the terms. So there's a possibility that the speaker took Victoria's body, just like he went after Zephyr.
Especially if he's trying to set a trap.
Yeah.
If your wife didn't work as bait, then Victoria's body
right. Enough redundancies in the system that eventually I get caught by the trap.
Piper. Actually, we're going to say Isobel, because you were also helping to look over some of these files.
Yeah.
We'd like you to make an intelligence and academics, and your research specialty does apply.
Oh, wow. Two successes, but I'm going to spend a willpower to reroll.
Okay. Question: did you wake up and use your new toy?
Yes, I would have, especially if we're looking at things that I need to actually see with my real eyes.
Are you doing it for a scene, or are you doing it for the day?
I will have done it for a scene.
Okay. Awesome. Are you did you say you were going to reroll?
Yes. So I'll be down to willpower, and that's 5 successes with a critical.
Holy cow! All right then. You notice this for one very specific reason, Isobel. Cricket is helping with a lot of this by kind of taking a lot of these account numbers and helping to run them to find names attached to those accounts. And it's just like not even really looking at the names at most of the names as they're getting spit out. A lot of the time it's just like a running feed that's like up next to Cricket's like camera view. And you are taking like these pages that are getting spit out by this little like portable printer thing that Piper has, and looking, and the name that jumps out at you is a name of an outgoing payment of $8,000 to a Rin LaBelle. You know that name because that is Rosanna's twin sister who has been missing for years.
Immediately turn the paper around and just point to the name. Look. Rin LaBelle.
Oh. So Rosanna's sister is involved with the church too.
I mean, it makes sense. What our friend said.
Yeah.
So Rosanna's sister is connected to all this web of whatever this
Arthur, is
thing is.
Church of the Rising Star typically a Christian or Catholic in denomination?
Not Catholic, but Christian for certain.
Okay.
There's a slightly pagan version or more paganish version of it here in Louisiana, but it's at least the California group that I was part of was Christian.
Only reason I asked is because our friend said that when she last saw Aubrey, she was dressed as a nun. Or
Right.
that's what we assumed.
Right. Or could it just have been older conservative religious garb that would look very similar to a nun?
Case in point, gestures at Arthur.
Yeah. From the sound of it, she was also wearing a cross and a rosary.
Mm-hmm.
Cricket, as a reminder, the last time you spoke with them before yesterday, you sent Rosanna a file where her name popped up in some of the research and digging you were doing on the Catholic Church.
Yes. So it would not be too far-fetched to assume that there is that connection with her sister as well.
Yep.
Didn't catch a word of that.
Last go round, given that I have already sent Thorn a docket on the Catholic Church's interest in her, it would not be
Who's Thorn?
Rosanna.
Oh, sorry.
given
Every rose
Given
has
that.
a stone on Arthur.
it's just good practice to keep in handle speak as opposed to now I know
Fine, I
all
get
of
it.
your names. It would not be far-fetched to believe that her sister would also have some affiliation. I can do some digging, see what files pop up there that the Catholic Church might have on her as well.
Is that something you guys would like to do right now? Because we can do that right now. I can have Piper roll and Cricket can provide extra dice.
I mean,
Since
if
we don't
did-
have a sheet for Cricket.
Yeah, if we want to do it right now.
Yeah, do it.
Rosanna wakes up. It's just, here's all this info on your sister. Surprise.
Piper, int and technology, and you will get 2 extra dice from Cricket.
Will this count as data mining for the purpose of using our lab that we got?
Yes.
All right, so that's another extra die. 5 successes. That's terrible.
5 is actually not bad. Five's fairly solid. Okay. Especially when it's critical.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the dice, not good.
Yeah, the fact that you got 5 on 3 dice isn't like that. I mean, it's both impressive and a little sad considering the size of that dice pool. Okay. Jesus, 10 dice and 3 dice showed successes. Criminy Piper. So there isn't a lot on Rosanna's sister. in the standard files that you readily have access to. You can choose to dig deeper, but you are risking, you're going to have to contend with security if you do that, with more security if you do that. So think of it like, so here's the thing. The Catholic Church is one of the biggest and most well-funded organizations in the world, right?
Yeah.
You also know from experience that they are one of the most well-protected organizations in the world. You have dug enough to know that it is not something that you just, like, one does not just walk into Mordor, one does not just hack the Vatican, right?
Yeah.
And
I don't like that look.
so the first layer of security is effectively what you just hacked through. What you find is that there is there's a mention of her in like a registry. Like effectively like a members list for a church. It is a very small church in Ireland. And cross-referencing that with the history that you know from Rosanna, it was shortly after Rin went missing is when this name popped up in the ledgers. Beyond that, we would have to make a couple more rolls for you to dig deeper into further layers of security to see if she's there. See if you can find her is a better way of putting it.
How deep do we want to go on this right now?
For what it's worth, I mean, you know, you have time in the session. I'm just letting you know that every time you dig a little bit deeper, there's a chance that you are going to, you know, get noticed.
Yeah, that was in character. Like, do we want to keep focusing on this, or do we want to save this for later and deal with the finances? Finish dealing with that first. Opinions for now.
I think the finances are, as much as I want to see where this goes, I think the finances are slightly more important right now, especially
We're also likely involved putting us in less danger.
Yeah.
Okay. So we are not digging any deeper.
Nope.
All right. What is the next thing you guys want to look into?
Well, if there was nothing else interesting about finances, then
there's plenty more interesting. I kind of need more so you have to understand that you guys are dealing
with
gigs
so
and
much.
gigs of data. So I need you to be more specific.
What about, okay, so we know that there's some outgoing payments, we know there is some ingoing payments. Is there any... Is there any... We have some recurring names, but is there anything that links to, like, I don't know, non-government organizations or something that may have strangely or known false names for...
Oh, yeah, because we have a front for the Linnaeus Society, don't we?
You do.
Yeah, can we find that anywhere in the records?
So here's the thing. The Linnaeus Society is one of those places where they have like a public-facing front. And it's mostly that their public-facing front is a number of like, you know, businesses and organizations and things like that.
Yeah.
There are a number that are involved in education. There are some that are involved in like, what do you call them? Like clinics, like free clinics and things like that, research grants and all of that stuff. Like they've kind of got their fingers in many pies. And they're almost all in like education, research, medicine, You find that there is a so you find that there are the occasional transfers between some of those and this and the church. They're really sporadic though. Like there's no pattern, and they tend to be of all different sizes. And you know how when someone does like an electronic check or whatever, they can put like a reason down. When you pull up those electronic checks to look at the reasons that were given in the transfer line, most of it is like donation. They're just marked as donations most of the time.
Okay. So what about going for something more specific, like some of the people involved with the Linnaeus Society's research into genealogy and genetics?
And I think it's a good route to go down. See if we can track down any of the
Especially if
people working for them.
there are some connections between the society and church.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that there's something with Rosanna's family. What if they're looking for something like that? That might be why they're doing all of this research. And if for nothing else, this will at least give us another thread.
Mm-hmm.
Would you guys like to research into the Linnaeus Society front's finances? Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, I was thinking more, are there any direct, like, transactions between some of the names we've gotten of, like, the doctors working for the Linnaeus Society and the Church of the Rising Star?
Okay. No, they're not between the doctors.
Okay.
Mostly it is people that Cricket has managed to peg as obvious like pseudonyms and masks.
Yep.
But none between the doctors
Okay.
and the church.
Well, I guess the only other thing that I could think of is there any information on in this all this financial stuff where there might be I'm thinking of the local cults, any seemingly reoccurring payments to a store or deliveries or something that might help understand some of those motions.
Yeah, both churches have reoccurring payments. Usually to businesses that tend to provide things on like an industrial level, like big deliveries of things like toilet paper and other paper goods that they can't produce themselves.
Cleaning supplies.
Yeah. There are things that there are payments to like auto dealerships and stuff. You can see payments to like credit card companies that match up, Arthur, with the kind of patterns that you saw, because you were given a card when you were traveling.
Yeah, right.
It's stuff like them paying off the travel cards for the members who go out and proselytize. That sort of thing. Something to be aware of is that for as much as going on here, Piper and Cricket especially, the records that you guys are finding are immaculately well kept and like precisely detailed. There's nothing sloppy about this operation. Whoever is doing this, more likely whatever team is doing this, is very good at what they do.
So, where do we go from here?
One of the things that easily done is take away anything like those payments for toilet paper, like the payments for things that they would need en masse. see what's left on donations, see what's left on payments to specific people. I can look for Vincent's other pseudonyms.
Other names.
Can pull those, separate those out. I could separate out just in general by pseudonym, see if there's any other connections, because once we get those names, I can start running those, seeing if there's any connections there between them and whoever else you want, Linnaeus Society or otherwise.
Yeah.
So I think that would be my next move, and that might take a second. That's up to you, ST. But pulling out anything that is listed as donations as one bulk thing, as the if it's listed as like going to donations and doesn't have a name attached, it goes one. If it's a very clearly a like bulk shipping, that gets listed in another thing, and then from there sorting out anything that has a name attached to it and running any of those names that I can find, with specific flags for the ones that I know are Vincent pseudonyms.
Yeah, this is a fairly significant amount of data to collate. Like, this is not something you're going to be able to sit and do in a day.
Yeah.
Like this is definitely a time-consuming process. This is one of those things where, like, even as good as you are, you wish that you like had some of the shit that like some of those old hacker tales. Talk about, like, people who are just infinitely good at being able to take massive amounts of data and seem to know everything that nobody could ever possibly know.
Now, Cricket, I do have a very important question. You're backing up all this data, right?
Of course.
Things that aren't awesome. I'm not sure how much longer it'll stay up. As I would like to start prepping to essentially just start draining bank accounts.
Would you like a separate backup for yourself?
Yes.
Cool. I can have someone dead drop that to you eventually. Let me get set up here and I can make that happen.
Yeah, I'm just not sure how much longer they're going to keep things up once things start going missing.
Here's my question. You realize that if you start siphoning money out of this, you are going to lose any potential new information that having access to these accounts could bring you.
That's true.
I'm just gonna throw that out there. Like, I am happy if you want to do it. We can do it right now. But I think that Piper is smart enough to know that once this bridge is burnt, it's burnt.
Yeah, and Arthur had the realization right as you started talking about draining the accounts that there's a whole bunch of people in these places that rely on this money. And while he may want to destroy the speaker, he doesn't want to just have a bunch of like kids in a cult starving because they can't get access to food because they can't buy or pay the payments to the shipping people. Like, it does create a problem.
I mean, you still need to collate data and look at your cross-referencing and stuff like that, but you guys don't find anything that suggests that the speaker is throwing away money on frivolous shit. This does not seem like one of those incidences where, like, the head of the cult is, like, buying themselves luxury jets and shit like that.
Which, like, on the one hand is good, because that does mean that money is going someplace. On the other hand is bad, because it means that money is going someplace.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just follow the money.
That'd be much easier if there wasn't so much of it to follow.
That's fair.
Nice.
You know, I would say that it doesn't. Life inside of the compound didn't seem to reflect this much money, but at the same time, I'm not exactly sure how much it costs to get toilet paper for the amount of people that lived in a compound over the year.
Not this much. This is.
Oh, sure. I do believe.
Yeah, this is
there's
more
bad money
than
here.
A cult, a group this size should be able to pull together.
Yeah.
Period. Full stop.
But if there's connections to the Linnaeus Society and Rin and others, then this is a bigger account network than just one group.
Yeah.
I'm understanding.
So yeah, if you can run these names, start finding obvious pseudonyms, or especially ones tied to people that we already know about.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure what your abilities are, the two of you here, but what if, is there any kind of way to, I don't know, do like a I heard that there's ways to like have a bank contact you when someone was trying to steal your identity, kind of thing, where they thought there was fraud. Is there a way to maybe tag some of these accounts where that, like maybe the travel accounts or anything, where we would be notified and we could just confirm and everything would be fine and they could just continue going about their business, but it would give us the ability to track when these accounts are being used?
Yeah.
Yeah, should be able to make that happen.
Yeah.
In theory,
Give us at least an idea.
absolutely.
Yeah.
In theory, there's absolutely a way to do that. You just the off risk, and both Piper and Cricket would know is that if anybody goes in to look at who the contacts are, because maybe they, maybe they should have gotten notified on something and they didn't, and they go in and they look at who it's set to contact, they're gonna know that somebody's been fucking around. Again, not dissuading you, but that is a danger to be aware of.
Yes.
I am being upfront with this information because Piper would absolutely know this, given Piper's specializations.
But that's a risk. And the reward is if we...
Yes, it is. This is very much a...
being able to track movement.
Yes. Yeah. This is very much a you can get something out of this, but you should also be aware that there is a chance that you will lose something from this.
But I think it would put us on a more offensive stance, right? Being able to be more proactive than reactive.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
And it'll also get us the information faster when it starts moving.
Okay, are we setting up you guys as the contact when quote unquote suspicious transactions happen?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Between sessions, I would like you guys to figure out what the triggers for those suspicious transactions should be. I'm not just going to give it to you, Arthur.
Okay.
Great idea, but you're going to have to put some thought in.
Sure.
And I will make sure that those are in place for next session. All right. Is there anything else that you guys want to do, want to look into? You have time, or we can go do something else.
I can't think of anything else that Isobel can think of to do with the financial stuff.
I'm not sure how pressing it is, and it's not related to what we're doing right now. But starting to look into the Linnaeus Society, these finances could help too.
Okay.
But that's another this will take time kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, shh.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I am dumb because I'm bad at taking my own notes most of the time. Hey, Cricket. You ever heard of somebody going by the handle of Delphi? As in the Oracle of.
I mean, I don't know about a person going by the handle. I've definitely heard.
Well, person is, yes, not exactly correct from what I've heard.
Yeah, there's like old wives' tale status about some shit going by Delphi. Like, I don't know if it's AI, I don't know if it's a person claiming to be all knowing, frames themselves as some like old wives' tale bullshit of like, I know everything. just kind of there. Like no one's ever really talked to it, not in my circles at least. It's just a legend. It's kind of the, it's the El Dorado bullshit.
I have a friend who has a friend who has a cousin that definitely spoke to Delphi.
Well, you can cut down that list to I have a friend who spoke to Delphi.
I call bullshit.
I actually, this is the one tech thing I do know, that there was a chat happening between them earlier.
Can confirm.
We're going to have words. They're going to happen later because right now I need to process the fact that like Atlantis is real, apparently. But
And all-knowing is, given what we found, not inaccurate.
Huh. Okay. I think there's just a long stare of silence because it really is.
Cricket is trying to parse the idea that it was you and not them that got to talk to Delphi.
It's the forking emotions. It's on the one hand, it really is like someone being like, yeah, I went to El Dorado actually. And on the other hand, being like,
No, you fucking
motherfucker.
didn't.
I've been in this game how long and I don't get to go to El Dorado. So it's this weird like forking emotions.
Yeah, it's weirdly closely related to what we're doing.
Okay. Good, I think. Maybe. Good for you.
Helpful, but also dangerous if anybody finds out about us.
I'd say my lips are sealed, but that assumes I talk to people unless they contact me first. So
You know the people.
Yeah, I screen my calls too.
You don't take calls, Arthur. You barely understand how a cell phone works.
I understand how a cell phone works, but no, I also screen my calls. So I have for years.
But
cults will do that to you.
yeah, you
They will.
know the people, at least some of the people that you definitely shouldn't talk to.
Yeah.
She's gonna turn to the other people. By the way, if you ever encounter somebody using any variation of the name Briar, so far the two we've had encountered are Green Briar and Black Briar. Be polite, but engage as little as possible.
The name doesn't mean anything to me, does it?
Nope.
Go. We'll just nod and say, okay.
Like, that's a weird name.
Yeah. Like Briar Rose?
Briar seems to come after the color. They pick so far. I mean, we have a data set of 2, so like, who knows? Maybe he'll switch it up.
So we could run into a blue briar or an orange briar or something.
Gold Briar.
Wow.
Go fancy.
Yeah. But regardless, like I said, there are a lot of people after me. And that's one of the ones that I know is actively after me right now. So keep an eye out.
All right. If you guys don't need Cricket anymore, Cricket is going to return to their conspiracy hovel.
Focus all that computer power on doing the processing.
Mm-hmm. Cricket is going to go make a database that they wish was as good as Delphi's.
One day.
Okay, goodbye, Cricket. All right, you 3 are alone once again.
Your friend seemed jealous that you talked to Delphi.
I'm sure there are a lot of things that I do that they wish they could do, and there's a lot of things that they do that I wish I could do. So,
Oh, it's mutual then.
what's the next step? Where do we go from here?
I think we look into some things. I need to make a phone call. I think we should figure out what exactly the cult's presence in the area is.
Yeah, Arthur, you said you were looking into them in the area, yes?
Yeah. Yes. I also have an apartment near here somewhere.
I legally now know you do not. Because you don't use that name anymore, and if you do, then I will personally kill you.
Oh, you don't understand. It wasn't that kind of place. If I walk into the bar, bartender sees my face, lets me up.
Okay,
That kind of place.
that's
I'm not even. I mean, he knew my first name because Arthur, but I don't think he even looked at my driver's license at any point. My ID.
interesting. Well,
There be
Slapped a
anything
couple
there?
$100 on his bar each month, and they kept it open.
Okay. I think it's been a bit since your last page.
No, it's only
Hasn't
been
been too
a
long.
couple. Yeah, it's
You've only been gone for a week or two.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's fair. Okay. I mean,
well, do we want to pay a visit there?
I mean,
If
there's
anything,
nothing there, but I mean, I guess we could empty
less
the
the
RV
apartment,
supplies
more,
or whatever. Yeah.
more of the bar.
hmm It is close enough to where the cult is, though, that we could then go from there to look into it.
and we're
Okay.
not traveling around in a very obvious RV.
hmm
All right. Well, before we do that, we are going to do Isabel's phone call because it's been a few hours. So Allison is probably awake by now.
Yeah.
Are you going to stay in the RV? You stepping outside to make the call in private?
I'll step outside to make a call in private.
Okay. You call and the phone picks up immediately. Hey, are you okay? I worried when I didn't hear from you yesterday.
Sorry, I kind of just passed out. It was not exactly comfortable. Sorry, I meant to. It was just, I had enough energy to crawl back to where we were and sleep.
Okay. How did it go?
Said that she couldn't break the curse, but has given me something that at least is gonna give me some relief from it, temporarily.
Okay. All right. Well, that's something, right?
And said it was tied to my trauma, my blood. That's an interesting way to put it.
Well, I mean, if we do think it's a blank body that did the spell, so it being tied to your blood isn't surprising. Most of their magic is going to tap into that. I mean, and I guess pulling on somebody's trauma is a way to curse them.
Yeah.
That means that to some degree, it's not. If it's tied to trauma, then it's probably not you specific.
I think she said that no matter who it had affected, it would have been different.
Right.
I also have quite possibly a name and several aliases of the blank body. and a little bit of information. The name Vincent Pendleton. Apparently, he was a former ME out of Chicago that went missing shortly before those bombings a few months ago.
Hang on. And you can hear like feverish typing in the background. And then after a minute, she goes, "Shit, I fucking knew it." Okay. Yeah, Vincent Pendleton was an ME there, and he went missing a few days before the bombing. We were 99% sure that he was one of the blank bodies, but I was hoping that we got him in the bombing.
Yeah, he is still kicking.
Fuck. Okay, my bosses aren't going to be thrilled to hear about that, but you know.
I mean, look,
he's a baby at least, so worse things have happened.
Yeah, I have a couple of aliases that he seems to be going under. Edward Carnby, Stephen Sharp, or Jonathan Turlow. Those seem to be his current aliases, so seeing if those pop up in anything.
Do you mind if I pass these along so that it's updated in our files that he's still around?
I mean, I think it's helpful for everyone if the files are updated. Because, I mean, maybe if somebody else can take them out, maybe this will go away. I mean, I would personally like to get my hands on him first, but I will take what I can get.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to make sure that our files are updated with his status, and my boss knows, because my boss is part of the team. Well, the part of the planning that went into the Chicago strike. It was a little last minute. We got this. Get this. So we got a metric fuck ton of information from people like your group, like freelancers. I mean, when I say a ton, I'm talking like a big ass duffel bag full of hard drives and photos and just everything you could think of, right? And they were like, Chicago's infested. Here's information on like close to 100 kindred and their primary hangouts and who's who in the hierarchy. And I don't even know how they got this kind of information, because we sure as hell don't have this kind of information. But it was just like a treasure trove. And they said that some of the blanks got personal information on them, so they were leaving. They were like, we can't take on a whole city on our own. So here you go. Here you guys go. It was the easiest like payday we've ever had.
Interesting. Yeah, it's...
I'm a little disappointed that one got away, though. Yeah. My understanding is that he was part of the group that made trouble for the hunters that helped us. I was kind of hoping that we could do them a solid, but, you know.
Well, I will look into that as well, see if I can... He definitely seems to have some sort of connection to this group that we're investigating right now. So he may show up.
What group?
The Church of the Rising Star.
Huh. Really? That
yeah.
pissant little cult?
Yeah, we have reason to believe that their leader is some sort of creature being.
Oh, yeah, no, he's totally a soup. We don't know what he is.
Yeah. Leaving bodies and things. We just had a body dropped on our doorstep yesterday that is one of the victims, and it's honestly unlike anything I've ever seen before.
I don't suppose you got samples.
I do, and I will be sending them your way the first chance I get.
Perfect.
It is.
Oh, speaking of, I ran the ones that I got from you, and I'm sorry, I was so worried about you that I sort of
That's okay.
didn't think about it yesterday when you texted me, because I finished running them yesterday afternoon. So, for the most part, she was normal. You know, type A. Most of her like hormone levels and stuff were pretty healthy. What I found that was odd though is that her and I'm having a specialist look into this, but when I ran her DNA, it came up a little weird. But I'm not, I'm not an expert, so on that particular front. So I've got somebody digging in to try and figure out what the markers that I couldn't place are. What the markers that our system couldn't place, I should say. But I'm not sure. There was so one of the things that you sent us was this like the oh my goodness, what's it called? Like residue on one of the that was around like the edges of one of the wounds.
Yeah.
You're never gonna believe this. There were like flakes of like the same stuff that makes up like nails and claws, like our nails and like animal claws. Out of character, there's a specific name for it, but I'm spacing so hard on what it's called.
It's keratin.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
My brain said that, and then my brain went, "That's not right," and I just go,
Yeah. She would know what it's called, but I as the storyteller was just like, I can see the word, but I can't remember what it says.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was like flakes of keratin in it, but it was like a very specific makeup. It was a little bit more animal than human.
Yeah, we definitely got a lead, and we're relatively like 90-something% sure that it was a lupine that did this.
Okay. So don't be mad at me for what I'm about to say. Or think that I'm trying to baby you. Lupines are like murder machines.
Oh, I'm very aware.
Like big and angry and can tear through like 20 people in a minute kind of murder machines.
Yeah.
Like we've tangled with a couple and never again, as far as I'm concerned. I would very much prefer to avoid them whenever possible, and especially because if you've got this curse on you that's messing with your psyche, you don't want to encounter one of those in person.
Yeah, it's not on my list, and I certainly hope that the killing is definitely this. We're not going to run into our furry friends anytime soon, if ever.
Okay. Well, if your friends are dumb enough to go after lupines, you should be smart enough to walk away. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. It hasn't come up, but I definitely would be in the camp against that, at least for now.
Okay. All right. Well, that makes me feel at least a little bit better. Is there anything else I should know? Or should I just wait on the next package?
Yeah, I'll have the package sent out today probably. And there is a person that one of my cell members is connected to, and we believe that this person has connections to the church. We were going to try to see if you'd maybe encountered anything about them before.
Okay, who?
Yeah, Rin LaBelle.
Don't know the name. I can look into the files.
I mean, it's if you anything.
They get a little cranky when we go poking around in their business, but I kind of like making them mad, so.
I think that's fair. Yeah, that's for one of the members, and we also learned that this Rin person may also have connections to the Church of the Rising Star, so trying to figure out what's up with them.
Okay. Well, I will look into it and I'll let you know.
Yeah. I hope everything's good on your end, not causing you too much problems.
Nah. Honestly, things are a little boring around here until they're suddenly very not. So, you know, as close to a 9-to-5 as you can get in this life. So, you know, you really should consider that job offer.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how things go after I'm done here.
You could actually, like, you know, have a life and not, you know, spend all of your time buried in a shitty little dark office with, you know, nothing else going on, or on the road with a bunch of weirdos who can't hold down a steady job.
Yeah, once this is over and I've seen it through, I'll give it a thought.
Just make sure that seeing it through doesn't see you through, okay?
I'll do my best.
All right. Well, I will be here if you need me, and I eagerly look forward to the package.
Yeah, I look forward to hearing what you think about this.
Yeah. We'll have to see. All right. Go be with your weirdo unemployed friends.
Oh, well.
Love
Thanks.
you lots.
Love you too.
She will hang up. Okay. All right. I believe next on the list was you guys were going by Arthur's old apartment. Was there anything specific that was happening there, or is it like you're gonna stop in and see if anything weird has happened and then move on?
Yeah, that was realistically, it was just a matter of check in with the triple tap on the bar to be like, yo, hey, to the bartender to let him know that I'm around and see if there was anyone that came around looking or if anything weird happened in the apartment.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Mostly check around for anybody if you're looking for him.
Yeah.
Okay. So we don't have to roleplay anything out for that. I will tell you that you run by and nobody has come looking for you.
That's exactly what Arthur wanted to hear. Yeah, the beer bottle that's sitting upside down on his door handle still sitting there, kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
You run up and check it. Everything seems fine. The measures that you put in place to alarm you if anybody tried to get in are still there. Though
piece
you
of hair
might want to
taped over the door.
You might want to consider moving some of them so that you don't hurt the poor landlord, because I'm assuming you're probably not coming back. But that's about that. And from there, you guys are able to park the RV and, head over to where the cult compound is. What exactly are you guys looking for while you are there?
I don't know, but also somewhere along the way, I will send off a package.
Yes, absolutely. I'm not going to make you roll for that. You are much closer to home here than you were. Well, no, you're not.
Not incredibly close.
I don't know why I was thinking that for just a moment Louisiana in my head was much closer to California than it was to Florida. Yeah, I'm just saying, for some reason in my head for just a minute New Orleans was on the West Coast and I was like, wait, no, that's wrong.
Louisiana is just where, Arizona is.
Listen, between Arthur drifting off on stream and me not knowing where New Orleans is, you were definitely half asleep. I watched. This is not the first time this has happened. We have video evidence. We're gonna clip that and send it to Legacy so that they never let you live that one down either. That one's also gonna get turned into a clip that ends up on like Twitch or something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You head to the compound.
At least as close as I safely would like to get. I don't like going too close. Yeah.
I'll say that over the months that you had to kind of look at this place, kind of surveil this place and whatever, you found a few places that are kind of up high that kind of let you look over and down into parts of the compound. Would Arthur specifically, would you please make... Oh, no, wait. You know what? All of you can do this. I would like all of you to make a wits and awareness.
All right.
Would my thing have worn off by now?
Yes.
And yeah, I definitely would be getting penalties for this, right?
Unless you want to use the thing again.
Yeah, I'm going to use it again just so I don't have those penalties.
Okay.
One success. I don't have the willpower. Well, I have the willpower to reroll. I just don't want to use it.
I understand. Okay, so we have 1, 3, and 5.
I had two, and I used willpower and got 3 successes. So.
Yeah, I saw that the button was gone.
Yeah, I was gonna try to hide it. I just was poor talking.
Isobel, the thing that you notice is that there is a lot of activity kind of in like the central square. There's just a lot of people moving around, which seems a little odd because it's hot. It's the middle of the fucking day. You would assume that people in a place like this would be in the shade or air conditioning if they have it. Not standing in the open under the hot sun with the humidity and the bugs and everything else that's going on. Piper, you see somebody familiar, if only from pictures. You see the person you recognize as Liam Key, aka the speaker. Arthur.
Yo.
You see a box truck. And next to the box truck are 2 familiar figures. You see the speaker, and you see standing next to him is Katie Lynn. And Katie Lynn is like talking to the men who are going into the truck, and they're coming off of it, and they're moving what you realize is like furniture and boxes and things. And Katie Lynn is kind of like pointing them towards where to go and whatever. And she and the speaker are clearly talking in between her having to tell people where to put things and whatnot. She looks happy. Excited even. At one point he says something and she gives one of those laughs that you used to live for. That laugh that can light up a room when you're having a bad day. And makes you feel like the center of the universe.
Arthur's fists just clench incredibly tight, and even though he's trying to maintain a stoic face, it's pretty obvious that he's not happy about what he's looking at.
Do we want to get a closer eye?
If it's safe.
Well, it doesn't involve us moving one bit, so...
Well, I mean, if it's safe for her.
When he says that is when, Piper, you put 2 and 2 together and you realize that there's a woman standing next to the speaker. And he has his hand on her shoulder.
If we do something to get a closer look, it can't be found. It can't be noticed. Because he could move and do something that we're a little too far to stop. And that can't happen. If I'm making myself clear. Until we're ready.
Nothing will happen if we just sit here and wait, so I think we should see if we can get more information. We should be far away. If we're anywhere close, then it's more likely that things will get put together.
Yeah.
So, I'm gonna set up a drone and hopefully we're gonna drive off somewhere else and I'm gonna scout.
Okay. You guys head back to the RV. Piper sends out her drone. It takes a little bit for the drone to get there.
Arthur reiterates one more time before Piper launches it how safe this needs to be. But he will trust in Piper.
Yeah, it's worth noting, this drone is like palm of your hand. So it's not big.
Okay. Given how tiny it is going to take a little bit to get there. Yes. And my understanding is that Arthur wanted to take a moment to sit with Rosanna. So we will address that now.
This is a good time. While the drone is off doing a thing, Arthur can't sit still, so this is a perfect time for him to visit. He goes into the room and just goes up, kind of stands near the bed. He's just watching Rosanna for a minute because he's trying to see if she'll wake up. And when she doesn't wake up initially, unless she does she wake up?
Nope, she does not.
Okay. Then he's just gonna start talking to her and see if he can just wake her up by talking to her. And just say, Rosanna, you really need to wake up because we need you. Things are getting pretty intense right now. And we're very close to something happening. We found out a lot. We can't have you. We need you. We can't have you gone. I can't have you gone. Not right now. So you need to wake up. Whatever it takes. And then he's just going to stare at her for a very long time.
Okay. While that's happening, Piper, you are watching your drone on your screen. You're watching your drone's view. I have a couple of questions before I can tell you what needs to be rolled. Things like that. How close are you planning to get?
I would like to be able to get close enough to potentially overhear whatever's happening.
Okay, so pretty close.
So pretty close.
All right. Do your drones have a dice pool?
Yes, my drones for these drones specifically for awareness, stealth, and larceny use my wits plus technology.
Okay, so let's roll that.
I'll just go ahead. 5 successes.
Okay. I have to roll something behind the screen. Okay. Cool. Piper, you sweep in over what's going on. And you start out pretty high up and you realize that the only sounds you're really getting is just the general mumble of conversation because there's so many people. So you've got to get closer if you want to get this specific conversation. And so you start to slowly descend. A random cat swipes at you as you get to the top of the box truck. But you get in close and you get a snippet of conversation. It seems fairly lighthearted. They are talking about... it seems like they are talking about the house that Katie Lynn is going to be moving into here. And there is the discussion that, it's bigger than the last house that she had. It's, nicer and it's newer built. And that it will serve the needs of a growing family very well. And it is about this time that cat that was on the top of the box truck swipes at the drone, and you aren't quite fast enough to avoid it. And you watch your drone's camera view as it kind of plummets, as it's knocked out of the air. And you watch the view of a pair of men's loafers style shoes. Oxford style shoes, not loafers. I'm sorry, that was the word I was looking for. Turn in the direction of the camera, or in the direction of the drone. Walk towards it. You see a hand for a moment, and then the drone gets picked up, and you see the speaker's face up close. And he sort of gives a little wave. And you distinctly hear, hello, Miss Piper. And that is where we are going to end it for the evening. Please join us next week when we will continue, and hopefully maybe Rosanna will wake up. Good night.